What's up, indie lovers? I'm back with another episode of Indie Choice Picks, and today I'm bringing to you the one and only creator of Monster M.D., Von Klaus. Now, I've looked at his campaign, and it absolutely crushed it. So if you have a chance, go check out his Indiegogo page. I kind of dive in into asking questions on how he did that, because it is amazing what he did. So sit back and relax. We're going to jump into the whole mythos of Monster M.D., talk a little bit about pseudoscience, paranormal, weird, creepy stuff. I hope you enjoyed. Maybe I should have saved this one for Halloween, but oh well, enjoy. Hey man, Von Klaus, the man of the hour, dude. I just gotta say, when you did your face swap, dude, you were looking pretty snazzy there, dude.
I'd do me. I'd so do me. And you look good too. You look good to this day, my foxy blonde that I don't want to tell my mom about. You know what I'm saying?
I've had people saying, I guess one guy was on Twitter and he was talking to me. We were talking about comic book stuff, and I guess his wife walked in and saw who he was talking to, and it was me, but it was my girlfriend.
Who is this? Look.
And then he goes, no, it's a man. And then she even got even more like,
baby, I promise it's a man. It's okay. Don't you know what era you're in, dude? Like, of course she's gonna be more upset now.
So like to bail him out, I had to send him my side-by-side shot just to bail him out. So he's cool now.
You're a good friend. You're good. You're a good guy. You didn't have to do that, you know. But yeah, that thing makes you way too hot.
It does.
It's not just a face swap or a gender swap. It's like, do you want to feel hotter than you've ever felt?
I made a joke on Twitter when it happened. I was like, I see why now everyone is like wanting to be like transgender, because like when you look at yourself as the opposite sex, you look hot. I'm like, man, I got to get on the transgender game because I look fabulous.
Yeah, you can wear the makeup, get your skin looking good, and do all kinds of stuff. Bring out your eyes,
Yeah,
things
right.
you weren't able to do before.
Yeah, I got to change that picture. I got to do it pretty soon because it's getting kind of old, played out. But every time I go and change it, I was just like, damn, I look so good. I think I'm going to leave it.
I'm gonna ride this blonde, sexy wave a little while longer. I get you.
All right, let's jump into this, man. So you were one of the few people who got at me when I made my announcement for the show. I saw your just concept of Monster M.D., and I gotta say, man, this is some pretty unique concepts you got going on here. So I'm gonna turn the floor over to you. You get to tell the audience just everything about your book, your just everything. Let's go on and just take it away, buddy.
Taking it away.
Nice.
Monster M.D. is about a doctor to the local monsters who was once a surgical prodigy, now fallen and banned from all known medical schools in the universe. He has become this underground doctor to the things that go bump in the night. And in doing so, he's had to hire an assistant. An invisible woman by the name of Heidi H. Hyde helps him wrangle in these monsters and give them health care. No, it's not free, you socialist weirdos. It is, he empties out their wallets most of the time. It's pretty much like our healthcare now. Anyway, but he and Heidi get into these hilarious misadventures and trying to help these monsters out. In this story, the first book of Monster M.D., Wyatt doesn't think he can cut it anymore. Wyatt feels like he's done, and that maybe he's been kidding himself, and that he's maybe even playing doctor while trying to work on these monsters, like, because he failed at being a surgeon, and now it's like, he feels like he might be worse for the monsters than they are for him. And then again, they're kind of bad for him. Like, they almost eat him all the time. Like a Tuesday night, he almost gets eaten. The beginning of the book opens with him almost getting eaten by a werewolf.
Yeah, I saw that on your Indiegogo campaign, and I'm looking at the art. So it looks really cool.
Nice. Thanks. But it's, he doesn't know if he's got what it takes, if he can cut it. And Heidi doesn't want him to go. Heidi doesn't want to leave him. They have this special relationship that's more than just work friendly. And suddenly Heidi gets kidnapped, and it's by this crazed masked man, monster killing masked man, who took off his arm and ruined his medical career once already in the past. So he has every reason to walk away, not do this, not be a hero anymore. and get out of the game for good. He's terrified of this guy. Just the sight of this guy sends a crazy monster doctor into, panic. So it's a story about, kind of finding your place in the world. It's a story where you're going to see almost every monster you've ever loved from the movies, and tons of horror movie references sprinkled throughout like little Easter eggs. It's just a great fun time. And it's the most fun I've ever had writing a book. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share the page because it's more visual for everyone who's watching or will watch per se. So let me know when you see the screen. I got your campaign open. We're gonna talk about this pretty little number later because I got a lot of people running campaigns who are just looking for a little bit more advice. So I gotta ask you a few questions on. You wanted 3,000, now you got like damn near a down payment for a freaking house over here. So that's cool. So this is Heidi, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Heidi
Hyde. Is there any kind of classification of monster that she is, or is she just invisible?
Ooh, great question.
Yeah.
She's a modified human. So she's not a true monster in a way, which I kind of wanted for her character because she still calls herself a monster and considers herself one of them, despite not being the same species as monsters, also known as cryptids in this world.
Now, when you came down to selecting certain monsters that go in your book, what made the list? What didn't make the list? Did we have like Bigfoot on the list and like the La Chupacabra is not on the list, or like a werewolf is here but like not Loch Ness? Like, how did you pick your monsters to kind of throw in here?
It started obvious, my favorites, and I wanted to have, and I had a goal of including my takes of the Universal classic monsters as well. So there was that,
Dracula.
And it's not just my takes on them. It's really Monster M.D.'s takes on them more than mine, if that makes any sense, because I wanted to do versions of them that fit into this world of Dr. Black and his assistant Heidi. I didn't want to do Dracula, but I do a little vampire kid with a little widow's peak, and he's like a punk teenager.
Like the kid from the Munsters. Like, that's what I'm getting right here.
Yeah, there you go. Eddie Munster. Yeah. I love the Munsters. And then you have there is a creature from the Black Lagoon. There is Frankenstein's monster. There is a werewolf or two. There's so many other good ones. Of course, the Invisible Man is one, but that's referenced through Heidi. Yeah, we've got a lot of them here.
Now,
we definitely have.
I don't know if you saw my feed today on Twitter, but I'm a huge paranormal conspiracy theory, just kind of like everything that's the weird and unexplained. Whenever I see something that I don't like, can tell right off the bat, like if I see like a monster lurking through something like that, like someone caught video of something, right? I'm a huge advocate of looking for that kind of stuff. And recently, and I want to say in like the last maybe 10, maybe 15 years, there have been new cryptids to have, I guess, become mainstream cryptids, like the Rake, Slenderman, and all these things. Do those monsters make an appearance in your book?
I will say there is a Slenderman cameo.
Okay. Now, is he like creeping off in the background, like just for shits and giggles, or is he like, "Hey, Doc, I got a hole in my head. Can you fix this?"
Yeah. He's in the office for a visit, and this doesn't happen in the current version of the book. In the old version, the Doc is like, "You're looking a little skinny. I'm going to prescribe you some stuff to help you get your weight back." But in the new version, we changed that up, and it's kind of fun. So I'm not going to spoil it, but you will see the Slenderman unlike you've ever seen him. So
a lot of those monsters, a lot of the cryptids that people have been looking into lately have come from Reddit, like the creepypasta and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I don't know what these people are like smoking, but I mean, they make Stephen King look like a kindergartner with some of the stuff they come up with. Go ahead.
The name of the game is be scarier than everyone else, right? So the competition must be a little fierce.
But I mean, like it comes with a price, because I mean, there's been cases where like people are killing, like kids are killing other kids in order to please like things like Slenderman and stuff like that. And I'm like, that it started off as a Reddit creepypasta, and now it's this kind of blown up into this huge
Yeah.
urban legend. And I'm like, it
Yeah.
kind of makes me wonder, like, is this stuff real? Is it not? Is it just a story? Because there's this theory going around. It's like a whole mess of people focus on the one thing, whether it's real or fake. Somehow that can materialize into our reality. And I'm like, I would be scared shitless if there's a Slenderman running around just taking your
Yeah.
kids for no reason. Like, that's creepy.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God. I mean, that theory you just described is now its own little, like, it's not a horror monster, but it's its own urban legend now.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think the one that I think there's two actually. The one that kind of scares me shitless is the one called the Rake, where it sneaks into your bedroom and it just stares at you at the bottom of that. If I woke up one night and I didn't see my cat, but I saw that, I would hit myself. I don't know what I would do. Would I wake up the wife? Would I just throw back?
My cat is the Rake.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. You should see my couch or what's left of it. Holy shit! Can I cuss? I'm sorry. I can be nice and not cuss if you want.
I cuss all the time. Like, this isn't going to be edited or anything like that. I like to give my audience, like, just full on, no filter and stuff like that. So if you want to cuss, dude, I don't mind you. Just go for it, dude. So
neat.
Another one that I like is the Legend of the Skinwalker, which comes from Navajo folklore. Now, I was a video. Does that show up in there? Because if so, I would really like to know what one looks like.
We do not have a skinwalker, man. They're more like, you don't hear about them as much, and they're one of those ones that has, when you look them up, you get a lot of different art and interpretations. Everything from like spiritual to more like beast-like, and they're awesome. I love them, and they creep me out. I come from Oklahoma. I've got Native American friends who'll tell me about the dark secrets of the the prairie or whatever. Like, I had a drunk Indian friend once go, "There's a reservation where the people disappear like the snow." I was like, "What?
What?"
Something takes them, and I was like, "Dude, okay, I gotta go. I gotta go."
I think it was a few months ago. I came across a video of a guy who recorded the sound of a skinwalker, and it's literally like, I guess he uploaded it and like just kind of just let it sit there on YouTube for like a few months, and then he got an email saying like, "Congratulations, you've gained 5,000 subscribers." And he's like, "What? Over what?" So he gets online and sees that there's about 1.5 minute video of a skinwalker just roaring, I guess, in the middle of the night, just kind of went viral. And I'm like, that's terrifying. Like, if these things, I mean, I have Native American friends too, Navajos especially, and they tell me just all these stories about, skinwalkers and what they do. And then I came across Skinwalker Ranch, which I'm sure you've heard of. That, I know, against, if my black half is like saying, "No, don't go," but my white side is like, "We should go take a look."
Check it out.
Yeah, just go take a look. It's fun, right?
I'd be famous. Who knows? That's hilarious. I love that. I love not knowing things, and I love the horror and the mystery. I watch a lot of YouTube of ghost sightings and UFO stuff. And
you watch Flapped Ham?
Which one is it?
Flapped Ham.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Flapped Ham is probably one of my most frequently watched. Nuke's Top 5, Third Spooks, and there was one more I forgot. There was Chills, that dude with the weird voice that he narrates. That gives me the chills. But yeah, and then of course there's Fantastic Dailies, which I can't leave out because those dudes are awesome.
Yeah, and then I've seen some of the BuzzFeed's, what is it called, Uncovered, or I don't remember what is. Those two nerdy guys where one guy believes and one guy doesn't.
I'm over BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed, like, I didn't know they had a paranormal channel, so I might check it out. But I'm just BuzzFeed.
Well, luckily the paranormal channel isn't like the rest of the ass cancer that is their website.
Oh, so. Thank God. They have I'm to check it out because my wife, she's just like, "Oh, you're gonna watch your scary videos again?" I go, "Well, yeah. What else is there to do?"
Yeah, exactly. And you know, those I did consider the folklore stuff when I made Monster MD. I mean, that's why there's a Slenderman. We have a lot of different interesting fun monsters, a lot of classic monsters, some 80s horror movie slasher monsters do a little cameo. I mean, it's just fun like that. I mean, to me, that's the way you should do a book like this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Make it so that it has familiar things for everyone, and make it that much more fun for
Now,
them. You know?
I know this doesn't fall under the whole monster category, but do extraterrestrials, aliens, stuff like that, do they make an appearance in your book? No?
Nope. That to me becomes and starts to make it another genre or another type of story that just doesn't have the flavor I want for this.
Well, because when you were reading off your dialogue up here, you said that Wyatt can't find an MD job in a whole universe. Now, did you mean like the actual whole spectrum of the universe? And are we getting into like a sci-fi horror monster kind of thing, or what's that about?
I just said that because the known universe is not, we don't really know that much. It's actually kind of small in the scheme of things. And so that's why, like, I tell people I went to Columbia College, Chicago, the largest film school in the known universe, because it is the largest film school that we know of. Like, technically, it has the most students, but it just makes it sound bigger than it really is. That's all. It's just a cheeseball expression. But yeah, it's not, there's no plans for UFO type stuff, because I like to keep Monster MD kind of on the nitty gritty monster path.
Mm-hmm.
But I still love that UFO stuff. I think it's amazing and weird, and Ancient Aliens just cracks me up. I swear, I just watch it for the hairstyles sometimes.
Word. That's all I watch it for, to see how wild Giorgio Tsoukalos, how wild his hair is. Because I'm like, when I first started watching, I was like, man, I can't believe anything this guy is saying. His hair is like 3 over here. But then, like, you hear him talk, and you're like, huh, I gotta look into this. And I'm like, if you look at the earlier episodes of Ancient Aliens, like season 1 to like now, like it's not even his final form, bro. Like his hair just keeps on just growing, and
it's shaking, and waving, and oh my god, and he just. They don't know science or history at all. They just know that when they know that when they don't understand architecture, that it can't be humans that did it. It always has to be aliens to these freaking guys.
Like that.
Imagine going through your life like that. Like, you don't understand the economy, so it must be aliens. You don't, God, it's just insane. Who are these guys?
Hey, some of them though, they do make a really great point. Like I believe that of course aliens had to have come here, because if you were just like, well, like, right, if you're driving from New York to like California cross country, right, and you see something that looks interesting, you're gonna be like, oh, let's go take a look, right? So if I was an alien and I had this spacecraft that goes at the speed of light and I see a nice blue planet, I'm like, oh, let's go over here and take a look and see what's going on. I mean, it's plausible that it could have happened, and a lot of the interpretations could be, but like I need a little bit more evidence to support whatever claims you're going to be throwing out.
Right. Yeah. Don't give me that alien autopsy shit.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, who made this? Who authorized this?
What a hoax. What a hoax.
I need something concrete. Like I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say, like, when people see UFOs, they go, oh, look, it's aliens. It's aliens. And Neil goes, no, it can't be aliens, because what's the first letter in UFO? U stands for unidentified. You can't identify a UFO and say it's an alien spacecraft. It doesn't make sense, right? It kind of goes into unidentified concept. So
it has to start unidentified.
And Neil deGrasse Tyson is literally the first person that wants to know that if there's intelligent life in the universe, I want to meet it. Like, we all have these devices now. Like, if I came across a UFO or an alien just standing out there, I'm pulling this thing out. I'm like, okay, let's do this, right? Like, no one goes anywhere without these things. Like, and if on an off chance you see an alien and you don't have your phone, you're like, fuck.
That's right. That's right. We're all little junior Spielbergs now. I was thinking about putting something like that in Monster MD, where the cryptid species puts off this, I don't know. I mean, they're their own species, so maybe they put off this energy or what have you that makes it so when you try to take their picture, it always comes out blurry.
Or great, no video of anything that's cryptid or paranormal comes out clear. Like, it never happens, and I'm like,
which would be hilarious, because I would be explaining why it's always blurry.
Like, hey, Bob, let's get this guy to try to get us to record us. Okay, Jim, what are you going to
Yeah.
do? Let's go haunt a building, make lots of noises, and wait for these people to come in. And they think they get us on tape, but somehow we drain their battery. Like,
Exactly.
I hate
Yeah.
that so much because it's like it's so many questions that I want answered, and I just want to just sit there and like talk with a ghost and just say, so like, do you guys all get together and just talk about who you're gonna fuck with the next day, or is that just like you guys are like assigned to certain houses? How does that work? You know?
You're one Ouija board away from all the answers.
And like, what are demons? Are those like your bosses or stuff like that? Like, what are those? I need answers right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And Monster MD, you know what? I would say there's ghosts, but I don't have ghost characters at the moment. There's been talk about a possible ghost character that Wyatt and Heidi run into in a later story that ends up powering his vehicle, which is the lab on wheels, the meat wagon, where he pretty much eats, sleeps, and works. Like he lives out of this van. He's kind of a, down on his luck, guy. I mean, it's not like there's that much money in the monster mending business. But yeah, we were thinking about a ghost that maybe powers his truck, which would be kind of cool, and that her name would be Mercy, and so we'd start calling it the Mercy Wagon. But that's all stuff to be determined.
That's catchy.
Which is cool. That a Mercy Wagon is another name for ambulance, and so is Meat Wagon. So it works. It's fun. I don't know. I want to stick in the monster world and maybe keep ghosts kind of more secondary, but maybe have them later. That would be fun. What I like about Monster MD is that it's a fun blend of what I want to keep real and scientific, mixed with what I want to make fantasy and more horror or archaic and kind of mystical. I try to find a balance between the two that makes for this fun, original, landscape for Wyatt and Heidi to play in.
Okay. Now you mentioned scientific. When you say scientific, do you kind of talk about more of the pseudoscience of paranormal and cryptid hunting, or like more biology?
I want to mix real with sci-fi. So I'm going to invent some science here and there and have fun with it. I'm going to make sure the terminology sounds like what we would actually name it if it were real, though. I'm very much a stickler for that. I ended up coming up with some cool scientific names for some of this stuff, actually. But now it's totally leaving my mind at the moment, of course. But yeah, I go and I do my research, and I'm like, what would we call this if we had to give it a scientific name? So, and I was in med school for a little while growing up, so and my family's kind of a medical family, so I want them to read this and go, oh, that's cool. He did his homework. And it makes it feel more grounded and real in the story too. So, but there are moments where he uses real science to defeat a monster, which I thought was kind of cool that I got to add that in.
And it also gives your story a little bit more of realism, like a little bit more realism in a sense, like, yeah, we know, like, monsters aren't real as far as we know. But if they are real, that science could actually do the trick and maybe defeating them, maybe give Sam and Dean a call, but hey, did you try this for this demon?
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah. Like if you use this element, it will affect this, part of their skin or whatever, their biology, and it will mess them up, things like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to combine the supernatural with the science and make it, interesting. In kind of like in Ghostbusters, I mean, they were big. Ghostbusters was one of many awesome influences on this book, and they have their science down, and it sounds legit enough, even though it sounds wacky at the same time. And I just thought that was so fun.
Nice. So going back to the monsters, we see that Wyatt, right? He's human. He knows about these cryptid monsters. Now, it's probably explained in the book, but is he the only one who knows about these cryptids? If not, does the mass population like you and me speculate if these cryptid monsters exist? Like, is there a scene where he's watching YouTube like we do and he sees a video of like a werewolf and he's like, oh yeah, there's Tom, I treated him last week?
Exactly. Yes. He would know, he probably recognized some of these creatures. He knows they exist. He deals with them. The general public and people do not know they exist, or if they think they exist, they don't have a good photo to prove it. So yeah, it's like our world. He and Wyatt is on the outside of it with one foot in the monster world and one foot in our world. Except, to be honest with you, in this story, he kind of has his feet more in the monster world, and Heidi and other monsters are kind of reminding him throughout, you're kind of one of us.
Mm-hmm.
You've kind of become one of us.
Now,
And
does
he
he
doesn't know.
actually become a monster?
I would say it depends on how you look at it, because is he a monster as in like a classic like creature? No. But does he end up getting influenced by the monsters in some interesting ways that I don't want to reveal everything about right now? Yes. Does does he end up kind of like, because he's kind of presented with two monsters here.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi tells him he's one of them. And she's like, what of us, like from that class, Be Freaks, and I think The Simpsons did that. And so,
Yeah.
And she kind of represents the good monsters. And then there's a kind of an evil monster later in the story that's like, oh yeah, you are one of us. You're a killer,
Mm-hmm.
You're a horrible fiend like us. And so Wyatt's torn between these two monsters, which are kind of metaphors for him being an outsider. He's not really part of our world anymore. He is more of their world. He definitely sees them more than he sees humans. And he's kind of slipped away into his own world, and he doesn't know if he's happy with it. So that goes back to the story being about finding your place. Where do you belong? Where do you really fit? And Wyatt seems to be having trouble with that.
I'm really digging your artwork here. Like, if it have that kind of like Addams Family kind of feel to it, like this scene right here with the cathedral, but it's also very inviting in terms of like not being too dark per se, but seeing like going back up here where the werewolf bit his arm. It's like I can see this actually turning into like a nice animated short or like a nice animated movie. And that's one of the things that gets me with people's projects is, of course, artwork. You're going to have to like come swinging with your artwork. Story comes second, and of course, concept comes third in my book. So, I mean, the artwork looks great. And when I saw your Twitter page your Twitter profile has the picture of your cover on there, I was like, oh, it kind of gives me that Constantine kind of vibe when I first saw him. And I was like, oh, monsters must be Constantine. But then I went to your Indiegogo page and read it, and I was like, whoa, this looks really cool. Kind of like something I would read on Halloween for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've always loved Halloween and always been influenced by the fun of it and wanted to translate that into this story. This story's always been about all the things I find fun and just squeezing the most I can out of it and putting it in. The artist, Marco McCagney from Italy, he does work for Action Labs and does like Zombie Tramp and Vamp Blade, which are pretty sweet comics. They're more adult. But when I saw his work, I knew he was perfect for this because he has his line work and the way he does these facial expressions has so much feeling and passion. And that's how I like to do my stories. And he combines comedy and horror so well with his design, his eye for design. It comes out exactly the way I want it to with him. It's just amazing. In some ways, he enhances it in ways that I never thought of that I really love. In other ways, I have him change little things to make it more my vision, We've just been a great team. We're almost done with all the inked pages in the book. As you can see here, there's some great shots of different monsters that he helps throughout the story. We've got Exorcist Girl. We've got Baby Gargoyles. I think you might see the Xenomorph and Jason and Freddy in a shot there. There's just...
I'm trying to find it because I really want to see this. Is it in this shot right up? There's Freddy. I see Jason. There they are. Okay, I got it. That's cool.
Yep. You got a little Chucky on the left there. It's just good times, man. We've got a vampire doing the classic Bela Lugosi Dracula, like hypnotism with his hand coming out of
like This is like 90s galore, 90s horror, like late 80s horror movie galore. Like you get, like you say, you got Chucky right here, you got the Xenomorph, you got Freddy, you got Jason.
Yeah.
I just might go back right now and rewatch those movies just for shits and giggles.
So much. They're still fun to this day, man. There's a reason they're still making, you know, those movies to this day and coming out with remakes and what have you. Child's Play is almost with us again. But yeah, it's been so fun getting to do this. I've never gotten to work with such a good team either. Our colorist Tanya Wicker just destroys. She's I saw that something she had colored, just one thing, but it was of these monsters. The color choices and the way she presented the lighting was so good. I knew she'd be perfect. So we've been working together for a long time. And then we, of course, have the guy that lettered the world, Eric Weathers. Comics Gate is going to letter this, and he's just amazing. So I can't wait to get that going. We're probably going to start. We've been like going back and forth, and I've been being a pain to him. I'm so sorry, Eric. I love you to death, buddy, for putting up with me. Like, because I keep wanting to change things. You know, it's kind of like finding the perfect letters to make this book perfect, because they are kind of the final thing you put down, right? I want this book to be the best thing I ever made. So we recently found some really good, you know, typeface for this. So we're going to jump into lettering like at the end of this week, or which is coming soon, or next week. So I love the team, Dream Team. And yeah, it's been so fun to write. I added a bunch of scenes and I've rewritten it a lot. It's about 112 pages now. So you're going to get a lot of book for your money.
That sounds like fun. Going back to your lettering, I know who comic book artists they use like Comic Sans for their fucking letters, and I just
I
can't.
No one should ever use that.
Don't ever use Comic Sans, people.
Ever. There's a website, it's called Ban Comic Sans for a reason. They're out there.
That's funny. So I started this new segment on Twitter because I'm just kind of upset that it came to me so late in this whole show thing. But I've started giving people the opportunity to ask me questions, to ask creators questions, and it's starting to pick up steam a little bit. Show's starting to become a bit more popular than when I started out. So I have like 4 questions here for your story. So
awesome.
All right. Well, the first question's from me because I'm curious. Do you watch the show Supernatural?
I have, but I did not watch a lot of it.
Okay, well you're familiar with Sam and Dean, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, are you going to do like a cool scene, like just for like a promo artwork, right? Like, I guess I'm asking because I want this to kind of be a thing now, but. Would you be able to get Sam and Dean to talk to this guy in like a scene where, let's say, like they're hunting a werewolf, right? And the werewolf is injured, like he got shot by Sam and Dean, and werewolf goes to Wyatt over here, and they find out that Wyatt is actually a monster doctor. I mean, that would be pretty catchy in itself, right? I mean,
I think that would make an amazing comic strip to do, like little strips of. Monster M.D. meets this or that fans love, that have a built-in fan base that they would love to see. I think that would be amazing and fun to do, yeah. But when it comes to Monster Hunters and Dr. Black, let me tell you something. I have thought about putting a Monster Hunter in this book, but I in a world where everyone's a badass Monster Hunter, like, you know what I mean? Everywhere you look, there's Hunter stories and everyone's got katanas and they're like, yeah, bring it on, vampire. You know, like I wanted to do a monster mender. And so if I do a Monster Hunter, he's going to be a bumbling idiot, like dickhead, like he's going to be really arrogant and full of himself and think he's badass. And Wyatt is just going to make fun of him the whole time.
The way to change the narrative on that one, I never would have thought of that, right? That's perfect.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. And that's part of what made me attracted to the Monster M.D. ideas, because I'm a little punk, and I liked the idea of going up to the opposite of what was popular, you know, and seeing if it works. I don't just do it because it's the opposite, because that would just be ridiculous. Like, just because it's the opposite doesn't mean it's a good story or it's going to work as a concept, you know.
Like, what if like he got bit by a werewolf so much that the werewolf venom, the curse doesn't even affect him anymore. Just got bit by a werewolf again. Like,
It's really funny that you say that, because his zombie arm gets bitten, and that's what saves him from the werewolf curse in the beginning of the story. Because Heidi hears that he got bitten, and he goes, "Don't worry, he got the arm."
yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, thank God," So it's that zombie arm has its uses. What's cool about it is I have not revealed a lot about it, like its origin and stuff and what it helps him achieve in the story yet. And I'm just going to let the readers discover that for themselves. But it's going to be so amazing, you guys. I really can't wait for people to read it.
That's awesome. So, all right. So the next batch of questions come from Chauncey Sharon Jr. He's been actually pretty active on the show. He loves the show. So he kind of went crazy. So I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of his questions. So I'll ask. Most of them I've already asked. So.
Oh, good.
Here's one. I'm gonna go with this one. What gave you the idea to do all of this and make this crazy dream come true?
So he's probably asking about why am I doing the campaign? Yeah. What brought me here? Great question, Chauncey. So what happened was I was a screenwriter in Chicago, and I was doing really well, and I was the go-to screenwriter at my college that all my professors came to write their stuff. Mm-hmm. My scripts were getting produced. My career was starting to bubble into a real deal filmmaker career, like I had planned. I'd worked my butt off, and then one of my scripts that was getting produced got handed to an SJW type guy to direct, and he rewrote my script into something that was actually the opposite of what I had written. My script, by the way, had won awards already, so you thought he maybe would have more respect. But of course, activists, they don't care. Mm-hmm. They don't care about art. They care about messaging or representation.
Virtue signaling.
Yeah, major virtue signaling. So he mutilated my script, and I learned an important lesson about how politics and ideology can ruin the arts. Something that I think people, regardless of where your politics lie or what your beliefs are, you should understand this as an artist, at least. This type of stuff kills the soul and the heart of what you're working on. So I got kind of embittered by that, and I started focusing, and I've had other scripts rewritten and turned into crap over the years, and I've directed short horror comedy films in Chicago, and it was just not working out the way I wanted. I felt like film was it had too many people working on it and too many people changing things that and from your vision, and you had no control or power over it in the end. So I started back to my love, which was something I started when I was 9 years old, which was making comics. And I started making comic book versions of scripts, or I just started making comics in general. I made one about a Japanese, a feudal Japan witch hunter who roams from village to village, hunting down the witches. So I did my Monster Hunter story, and got that out of my system, right? And then I loved the comics, man. It was what I wanted them to be. It was my vision, uncut, right? And to me, that was more fun and better than film and didn't take as much energy out of me. So I ended up realizing that the left was invading our arts even more hardcore than I thought when I went to a video game symposium, and all the presenters there, all the speakers, were social justice warriors giving these speeches about pushing white men out of everything, and about, it was just really creepy, weird, far left radical stuff that was very harmful. One of the speeches was anti-freedom of speech. I was my jaw was on I picked my jaw off the floor, and I left, and I realized that this is a real full-scale invasion, man. These guys are not playing. They're not just jerks on Twitter like they seem to be, because there's a lot of that, obviously. They are in our colleges teaching the kids the wrong stuff, miseducating. So I went online, I did a bunch of research for years, I worked on my comics, and then I found out about, I started following Diversity in Comics. Hi, everyone, it's your boy, Zach. And I was like, that's cool, he's cool. And then this milkshake incident happened, and I watched that go down. I watched Ethan Van Sciver, kind of come onto the scene. And I've just been there ever since. And I was not going to share my comic book with you guys. I was going to hide it. And then the Comicsgate thing exploded, and Ethan and Richard Meyer did what they should have done, which was come out with their own books and be successful, and they did, and it was awesome. It was so great. I supported their stuff, and they did so well. And then I realized I have this, I have this comic that I should bring to the public. I should do something with it. I was inspired by them, and now here we are. I called Marco and I said, I want you to do more than just my cover. I want you to do the full book, and he agreed. Thank God. And sorry, that was the long version, but
I agree. Like in the wake of all, I'm pretty sure you've heard about the Steven Crowder and the Carlos Manza like whole shenanigans and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
I think, and like I don't affiliate with any comic book group or anything like that, whether it's Comic Gates or whomever, like whoever is a comic book artist and they want to come on the show, regardless of any political beliefs, I don't care. Come on the show. But I've had people saying that they're not going to come on the show because most of the guests on here are right-winged, and I'm a conservative myself. But you see, people let that little shit kind of just interfere with the arts. Instead of focusing on political values and morals and virtue signaling, you should be more focused on telling a story and developing those characters and stuff like that. So the whole attack right now that's going on, especially with YouTube censoring a lot of people's opinions that oppose more the mainstream left, isn't right. So that's when you said, "Oh, can I curse on the show?" I'm like, dude, say whatever the fuck you want, because this isn't type of like filtering and censorship here. I want you to literally say what you feel on this show and let the people know that we're fighting back against this right now. Because first off, I didn't know who Steven Crowder was, even though I watched the guy's videos like once in a while, and then I saw the whole feud going on Twitter, and I go, "Oh, what is this?" Click, and it led me over to Steven Crowder's channel. And if you haven't watched his channel, he has a segment that says "Change My Mind," and a lot of those are great because he's not opening up the doors to insult anybody. He's not telling people change my mind, but you're not really going to change my mind. He's opening up the doors to invite healthy and civilized conversation and discussion, which I think is fantastic. Yes, we're going to have opposing ideas, but because people disagree doesn't mean that's considered harassment. And I need to make that very clear, that people these days are saying that disagreeing with someone is harassment. I said, no, disagreeing with someone is not harassment. I can say I simply disagree with you. Right. How I disagree, if I walk and be like, I disagree with you, and punch you in the throat, yes, that's harassment. But if I just simply say I disagree and come up with a counter term, that's not harassment. So
the left has here's what happened. They went too far left, so they can no longer win on the issues. So now everything they do is a symptom of they can't argue. So everything, the deplatforming, you're harassing me, you know what I mean? Every attack is just a different name for the same game of we can't argue with you in a real sense. We can't win on the issues. So we're going to try to figure out a way to label you, shut you down, what have you. That's all it is. They went. It's a symptom of being too radical. They can't debate anymore.
And I'm clearly I'm genuinely interested on some of these people's political and moral views. Like, I want to know why you think like this. Oh, I don't have to explain myself to you. You kind of do, because I'm a little confused on the situation on why you think you need more diversity in comics, or why you think you should take out a white straight man from a comic and put in a gay African American male. I don't understand why does Bruce Wayne need to be black and gay? I don't understand. Can you explain this to me? I don't get it. But a lot of us online, like literally, I have a hashtag going around saying "fight stupid" because that's literally what we're doing. Like everyone, I see nice. Tristan, she's cool. I love her. Other people like cool, Mr. Marvel and all these people, they're literally every day locked in an argument with somebody. Like I get in arguments with people. Huh?
Can't do it. Like I've done it. When I first got into Comicsgate, I was so mad. I was so mad at what they were doing. I would get into these dumb arguments. Now it's so much more productive and positive for me to put it into the comic.
Yeah. most of that is from me too. Like I try to stay positive, but if I see something I don't agree with, I'm going to speak out against it because
Of
deep down
course.
it's in my core. Like it doesn't feel right that
Right.
somebody would say this, and I generally ask and I ask questions to these
It's good.
people, and the first thing they want to do is block you. And we all have scoreboards on how many times we've been blocked on social media, and it's hilarious. I find it the funniest thing ever. It's, oh, I'm just going to block you. I'm like, what does that solve? That solves nothing.
It's amazing living in an era when you're blocked by your idols. You
Right?
know?
I don't.
Have you
Yeah.
been blocked by anyone that you look up to?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think. I think the most well-known celebrities, right? And I tweeted this out yesterday. Like, there's more check marks on people popping up that I don't even know who they are. But well-known people that are really everywhere, right? That have, their stuff on Twitter and they tweet. I don't really think they have their notifications on. I think they mute that entire thread because they know they're going to get shit back. So anything I say, like I've been
I'm
trying
with
to get Candace Owens' attention for like the last 3 years. I've been trying to get her
you.
to talk to me.
I had a chat with her online before she blew up.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you know what was awesome about Candace Owens and me in my situation was way before Comicsgate stuff, and I was getting into comic making again. Or no, I guess I was making comics, but that it wasn't it wasn't Comicsgate. It was more Gamergate, which you may know of.
Yeah, I know.
I was on one of their forums and I saw the Candace Owen incident go down where the left attacked her, and that's what red pilled her. And that's when I reached out to her and we had a brief exchange. And within a few months of that, she popped up on YouTube as Red Pill Black. And that's when this whole new Candace Owens, like who came back with this fiery lioness fury started. And I was amazed because her story about what happened to her was so unfair, was so uncool what they did to her. They worked to tear down her creation, and even though it wasn't a good creation that I agreed with at all, I disagreed with her creation actually, and I saw her back then, and maybe I think she was back then like a little bit more of like a misguided leftist.
Yeah, she
And
openly admits that she had no idea what she was doing on the left, for sure.
right. And then they attacked her and did all these horrible things, and she told her story, and then that's when I reached out to her. We had a brief exchange, and then to see her grow into what she has now, this incredible leader who's about telling the truth and really making a difference is just amazing.
Yeah, she actually red pilled me for a little while because I before the 2016 election, I voted for Hillary. Like, I'm just going to be open about it. I voted for Hillary. And then, I'm surfing on YouTube. Well, actually, this is back when I was on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, scrolling through, and I see her very first video of Candace Owens, and she's speaking at, I think, Purdue University openly, and there's these Black Lives Matter protesters out in the back protesting her. And I go, what's wrong with this picture? What's going on here? Why are Black Lives Matter protesting another black woman? I thought we were all on the same team here. And Candace Owens says something that I would never forget. She goes, none of you were slaves. None of you are oppressed. So the idea that you're using slavery as a victim card is low, and you guys need to go do something else. And I go, who is this woman? Because she is absolutely right.
Yeah.
I started digging for everything I could find on her. Candace Owens, they're like, Google calls her, she's part of the alt-right. And I was like, what's the alt-right? Oh, white supremacist group. Wait, that doesn't make sense. How can she doesn't even racially qualify to be part of the alt-right? Like, and it's just like, I got red pilled in the span of like a few months. And like, before you know it, I'm like on Twitter, like, yeah, go Trump 2020. And I'm like,
yeah. Wow, man. You did your research.
Yeah.
You didn't just buy it all. You got intrigued and eyebrow raised, and you went out there and you dug around. I did the same thing. I knew what they were doing was wrong, but I wanted to understand it. I wanted to understand where the ideology comes from, what they're really doing with this ideology, because they always say that they're doing the nicest, most tiptoe through the tulips type shit, like, oh, we're going to make the world a better place. It's going to be more equal now because of us. And then I look in behind the scenes to what it really does, and it's just fucking horrible. It's doing all kinds of damage. I wanted to understand it better than they understand it. So when I argue with them, I'm just like, here's the truth, motherfucker. Like, which is happening a lot on social dating apps, on some dating apps I've been on, because I keep bumping into these feminists, and it's
these feminist men and women. Now it's like feminist men now. So like these people are trying to be, they want to be included, which is fine, like be included, but in a society where you're trying to be included, you're trying to exclude people. This whole mess with the straight pride parade and all this stuff. Like, how can you ban a sexuality in a month that is celebrating sexuality? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. So that's
well, I mean, male feminist is an oxymoron. But I think that it's, it's about they're doing a really good job of doing the whole we're oppressed and so give us more, and that's why I don't want straight people cutting in on their action. This is what's going on. Like, we're not allowed to, it's supposedly our month every other month or something. It's not really our month every other month. We're just we're animals, we mate. It's not a big deal. I think now that like all the major corporations have rainbow logos for a month, it's just it just doesn't really matter anymore, because we used to do it to appreciate them and respect our gay friends and family for, for their place in society or for what they might have to deal with in terms of inequality. But now like, like, I'm not really like worried about them and their rights or their equality. I think they have, I think things have become equal enough to where it's like having a parade to flaunt your sexuality doesn't really matter.
Really do much. No, like that's like women who go for like the slut walk. Like, you're trying to stop rape culture, but walking down the street half naked isn't going to do pretty much anything.
Yeah, it's just for them to get attention and feel good. I mean, it's
that's all it is.
That's all.
All right, so we went off on a tangent a little bit. I'm going to get a panel together, actually, with a lot of other people. So if you want to jump on that panel, live stream it, maybe in a couple of weeks. I'm still trying to figure out how this whole Google Hangouts and YouTube Live works. But once I figure it out, we're going to get a live going, and you're more than welcome to jump on. So
that'd be so much fun, man. I'd love to.
For sure. So
we can make it like, we can make it cryptid and UFO themed.
Ooh, I like that.
We could make it like creepy and crawly, all the fun stuff.
That sounds like fun. Oh, you don't even get me started, dude. I have a whole YouTube playlist of all the creepy shit I've seen, and man, I love it. I love it. We're kind of running out of time really quick, so I'm gonna ask one more of Chauncey's questions out of the 4. Sorry, Chauncey, I wasn't able to get to it, but on a different note, Candice Owens, if you ever come across my show and you like it, I would love to come on yours. Just throwing it out there hypothetically, she might see it.
Candace rules.
All right, so here's Chauncey's question. Were there times that you didn't know whether your book would sell before launch?
Yes. Well, no. There was no knowing. There was just feelings that come over you. And I don't care if you're like the biggest comic book artist in the world or just me who's a nobody. You get these rushes of, I don't know if this is going to sell, or you feel like it's not going to sell. You feel like failure kind of poking at you. And that's normal. Just let yourself feel it and get over it and keep moving, keep pushing. Screw it. Who cares? Like, there's only one way to find out, and that is to do it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to not launch because I'm scared. I'm going to dive right the hell in. I was in this to win it. And to be honest with you, I had confidence too on the other end of the spectrum because I did my work. I worked to hype this. I worked to get the best artists and the team together. And I worked my ass off on this world and my vision, this story that I want to entertain the hell out of you with. As a guy who's put comics online before and just kind of let them sit there and stagnate and become, a graveyard or like a ghost of me just trying to put something out. Like, it's time to move beyond that with this book and really put myself out there now. And so there was a part of me that had that like lump in my throat of fear, and I just swallowed that down and I let my confidence guide me because I worked so hard on this and I was so focused. I put everything I've not just everything I've worked on in terms of stories into this, but like the graphic design, the character design. This is all me. This is all my vision that I've been working on for years and years. I've been practicing logos, I've been paid to do character designs for different people's comics throughout the years. I am a guy that wants to be able to do it all. I don't want to just be a writer. I want to be able to draw my artist, draw things for my artist. So there was a confidence that came with all this training and hard work I had done on the years to get to where I am now. And I hope that it shows in the final product of Monster MD.
I agree. You kind of sound like Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you heard of Gary V, but he's the if you ever look up Gary V, he's always like, I wouldn't say yelling, but he's like me. He's unfiltered. He'll say he'll say the shit that he know people needs to hear. And he's actually like, when you're like talking to yourself, like, whether I should do work today or not. Like my conscience is literally his voice. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's a Saturday. You ain't got nothing to do. Get your ass in there and draw. Get in there. Like, that's his voice. Every time I try to like take a break, I hear his fucking voice in my subconscious is telling me to fuck off, go do something all the time.
Yeah. It's always, it's good he's in there. He won't lie to you.
All right. So that kind of brings me to my next question. I got about like maybe 5-10 more minutes with you. You got to explain this wonderful number here. You asked for $3,000 to help fund this, and you went above and beyond to just break through the mold and make nearly $20,000 with 15 days left. Now, you said you did pre-launch. I know you did pre-launch. You did a lot of promoting on Twitter and whatever social media that you're plugged into. Please tell the audience, what did you do to get this kind of hype to where you were? How long did it take you to get funded, actually?
An hour and a half.
Wow, an hour and a half. That actually beats out the creator of Caius, Ryan Cardinal. It took him 3 days to get fully funded, and he doesn't have much of a following at all. But you, good sir, have the record of being funded in less than fucking 2 hours. So what did you do to prepare that kind of funding? What kind of promos did you do? How did you promote this book, so on and so forth? Like,
I turned my Twitter into a fun place. I turned my Twitter into a place where you're going to see fun content. And if I would, of course, obviously you're going to post art from the book, but you have to push hard and be creative on days when you don't have art and figure out new things you can do. You can do humor, you can pull some jokes, you can take just one panel of art and maybe ask people to caption it. So it's about, where engagement comes in. That is where you end up creating this this Twitter where daily people are seeing fun stuff growing and building up to this awesome campaign. So you're building hype essentially through these engaging posts. You have to be creative though. You have to come up with ways to hype them. So you might have to study up on how other people have hyped things before. What words did they use? How are they short and sweet every time? Sometimes do they talk a little more? Because you know the nature of Twitter. It's, sometimes pithy is the best. Other times you can get a little longer and explain things to people, get them interested. I created graphics with cool taglines. I created trailers. I worked I worked so much. I was like, felt like I was losing my mind. I would come home from work and just work from this. So the campaign itself became its own job, an own creative endeavor where I wanted to present my book as the most fun thing around. And in order to do that, you have to take on a social media voice and persona. You have to come up with constant daily content that engages people. So always think of new ways that you could engage them. Look at your book. Also look at your book and ask yourself, who's my audience? And then that will help guide how you make your tweets appeal to different people. Ask yourself, even if you like, obviously I have a horror thing here and monster thing, but I also know that comic book fans might dig this if I make it just a fun adventure comic too. So I played that up as well to where people were telling me, hey man, I'm not even into monsters and I want your book. So that's interesting. So yeah, I ended up making these cool little graphics. I looked like I said, what other people have done. Go to Comic Book Pros on Twitter. What do they do to? What do they say and do to build hype right before their book launches? You'll see some interesting things. So it's a learning process, but in the end, you better be ready to be creative on the fly, which is something that's it's not easy to do. You got to be very spontaneous and be able to come up with funny jokes or funny things that are going to intrigue people. And luckily for me, I had so much art coming in from Marco. I had the Heidi pinup. I had all the from the great Zashi. I had all this fun stuff happening that it was giving me constant content to update with every day and to kind of build this Twitter image and campaign that I think really paid off. I mean, people started getting more and more excited, and there's a bunch of great fans that I adore that are promoting this book all the time on Twitter, and I can't thank them enough. So yeah, I hope I'm not leaving anything out. I try to talk about the book with people in a way that gets them excited. You pitch with passion, because as they say, even though you might have heard this before, your passion is contagious.
Yeah, I've heard that all the time. Gary Vee actually in my head actually tells me that every single day. So you spoke a little bit about knowing your audience, like look at your book, know who your audience is. Did you know what your audience was, or did you have to like go out? 'Cause that's the biggest problem with most artists, and myself included. I didn't know who my audience was, and then when I started this show, a lot more people have become more engaging into what I do, both as a conservative voice and at the same time as a comic book artist and comic book show host for you guys. So I'm slowly finding my ground. But for those people who are, doing all this hard work, working 9-hour days, coming home from work, they don't know who their audience is. So could you give them a little bit of advice on how would they locate their audience, and how would they find them?
Find the other books that have been published and especially ones that have been successful. Look on Amazon if you need to. Do some searching on Google, or just books that you love that maybe inspired your books, and look at who the audience is for those.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really can also be as simple as, what genre am I? I mean, if you're a superhero genre, that's obviously your audience. I mean, but maybe you're not doing a cape book. Like a cape book, you would have a built-in audience that would be an awesome audience. But maybe you're not doing a full-on cape book, so it's a different type of superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, be honest with yourself about your genre, and then identify its strengths and weaknesses in terms of pulling in an audience. What do horror fans, to me, seem like an awesome audience that's always looking for new content. They always seem hungry for new content. So I've been, trying to reach out to them. Comic book fans, and of course the Comicsgate people, are just looking for hot, new, fun, beautiful works of art, and I was there to provide that for them. So they've been, I'm sure, very supportive. I lucked out there because that's not a typical audience, Yeah. So it's about being honest with yourself and just digging for that audience. Go to the forums, go to their forums where they are, find their communities, become part of that if you need to. You can end up discovering maybe newfound friends, but also like an audience for your book that's going to support you at the end of time.
Because social media is very, very difficult to navigate through. I always tell people the analogy, if you're at the Super Bowl Sunday, right, and the game is playing, you got people holding up signs, you can consider that people posting, taking selfies, there's food, people eating, and you come down into the stands with a sign saying, "Read my book," and no one is paying attention. Like,
right. Oh, man, I've been there. I've been that guy.
It's all about trying to get people's attention. So when I started my comic book, I knew that this wasn't the right time to launch, because I'm on Twitter and I can tweet something and no one would respond. I probably get like one like every now and again. But now, since I've shown my face, even though I'm a woman on Twitter, like people know who I am through my videos and through my previews and stuff like that, and they know how I act. So whenever I tweet, I can ask a question. Like today, I asked, all indie comic creators, what's your end game here? And I got like over 30 responses of people telling me what they want to do, and they retweeted it, like stuff like that. So it's gaining some traction.
You know what might help in that situation is having a superb log line for your work. That log line that does everything it's supposed to do, which is in a very short sentence or two, hopefully one sentence if you're really, going to do it right. It captures your premise, your characters, and the conflict, and what's going to happen if they fail. And you make that you study up on the art of the log line, which is an art to itself, and really learn how you put that in a forum where most people would look away. They might read the log line if they just see it really quick. It's one sentence, and it has an ability to be a fish hook that could lure people in. And really, so log lines I think helps. Obviously, in our medium, art is king. Being able to take that art and then do cool graphic design with it, it will really help you out over just having words like, hey guys, check this out, It's, hey guys, check this out. Saying things like, you are not ready. Like challenging people a little bit, or having a good log line, or also a tagline. Mine was evil needs a checkup. I think evil needs a checkup has been my tagline. My log line has always been pretty decent. It's a little long, like it's a little heavy, but it explains it in a fun way that usually intrigues people. And that's what I think. And your idea itself, it needs to have a hook. Like when I come up with my ideas, whether I decide to pursue writing them or not, which when you decide to make something that is obviously an enormous undertaking, it needs to be worth it, obviously. So how do I make sure it's worth it? You need to make sure it's worth it too, as a creator. One of the ways I make sure it's worth it is it better be able to be understood quickly and easily by people and hook them in a fun way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
To me, that's right there. You've got a more marketable idea than other people do.
Yeah. I was reading a book because I've written books in the past, like full-length novels and stuff like that, and I was having trouble selling them, and I read book after book, like how to sell your Amazon book and make $10,000 in 30 days and stuff like that. And none of the stuff really was very insightful until I came across one book that literally broke down how to market your book on Amazon with or without ads. And one of them was make sure your hook is very engaging. So people need to find a way, and this goes for any kind of medium you do, is summarize your book in 2 sentences that's both A, enticing, and B, that'll make them go into the actual blurb of your book if they're looking at it, right? You have it in big bold letters and 6 heroes left, 1 chance to take it, or 1 chance left, 6 heroes are going to take it. Stuff like that. That'll get them going into what the actual premise is about, because it's a 3-step process. First, they read that hook, they read your blurb, and then if by the time they read the blurb, they're interested in your book, they're going to buy it, or at least at the very least, pick up a sample of it on Kindle or whatever and read the book. And it's very, like, some people don't know how to summarize that book or their book or whatever it is about in 1 or 2 sentences without giving away too much or not giving away enough. And that's the problem that some people are facing with. So hopefully
I would recommend looking up log lines to popular films. Looking up or just type in like excellent log lines. Look up really good log lines and dissect them into sections. Even if it's just 1 sentence, dissect it into sections to where you see what makes this work.
Okay.
How does this hook? Take it apart, figure it out. Like, does the beginning introduce the character in an interesting way? Does it have a good conflict? Does it show what a character will lose if they don't succeed? These are so. And what happens is log lines become an art to themselves. If you can pitch your story with 1 sentence and hook someone, you're doing it right. You're getting towards success.
I agree.
And you're definitely get more attention.
And even better is that if you came up with so many different log lines, you can go on social media and get the audience to engage and say, hey, which one do you guys like better? Which one is more enticing? Which one is going to get you to back my project or buy my book? You have a whole audience behind you. And that's a good sense of content too to have, because it lets people know that, oh, what does this tagline mean? What are you trying to say? I like this one. Actually, that kind of gives you an idea of who's going to be interested in whatever it is you come up with, you know?
Yes, most definitely. So yeah, I don't trust them completely though. Give it to writer friends, you know,
Mhm.
and study, but just study a lot of those classic movie log lines that for great films, because those movie log lines sold scripts
Yeah.
and got the movie made. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like those movie log lines were got people to put millions behind it. So definitely learn from that. What else? What's another fun thing to do is, yeah, to present your product with like if you're doing a more serious book and like more horrific, like for instance, I think Long Harbor is a great book that did really well, and love the artists on that. And he he posts really creepy, disturbing stuff sometimes that like promote Long Harbor in a very mysterious way. So he lures you in more with mystery. I go for more for fun and like comedy and ridiculousness because it's see, notice how the mystery and the horror suits his book better though,
Hmm.
and my comedy and ridiculousness suits my style better. So that's something to consider when you're promoting and trying to get attention for your book is does this, you know, is this a good does this stem well from my book, and does this, you know, is this a good representation of what I'm working on, you know?
Hmm.
And yeah, always present it as bigger than life and badass too, and have a lot of confidence behind it because people also respond well to confidence, you know?
For sure.
That is one reason I would say be cautious about sharing it with people and going, what do you like the most? Like what would make you buy my book? Because that makes it seem like, you know, you're not 100% confident,
Yeah.
whereas presenting the log line and being like, this is it, baby, like are you hooked yet, you know, something like that that can really that could go a long way. That's part of what how I when you see my campaign, I mean, to me, I presented it like as if I'm a comics pro.
Yeah.
I mean, got my signature on it. Like no one knows who I am. like, like, but like I signed it as if I'm a comics pro. Like, but that was part of my showing my confidence in my product and in myself. And I think that it also helps people open their wallet to going, this guy knows what he's doing and he's confident. I'm going to support this.
Yeah, people
So
like confidence. Like you don't want to go out and say like you want an 85-inch TV in your living room and you see the commercial for it and the sale or the pitch isn't too confident on that 85-inch. Like people like confidence. Like for sure, people want
oh,
confidence.
yeah.
So
Oh,
my last question to you, and I ask every campaign artist this question, especially ones that have blown up like you. What is one advice you can give to people running a campaign to give them a good success rate with their campaign? Over everything that you've gone over, for example, Ryan Cardinal said, make sure you have a good engaging video. It's not too long, not too short. Make sure you're not talking more about yourself. You're talking more about your product. What can you give the audience to help them make sure their campaign is a success? It's a lot, I know.
do everything you can and even more than you think you're supposed to make the best product possible. Don't make it just about the art. Allow yourself to make it about the marketing and the quality of a product. Even if you have to bang your head up against the wall and maybe redo things or spend a little extra money on budget or what have you, your product in the end will kind of can kind of help make or break you, and I think will translate into a good campaign for you if you treat your campaign as part of the product, where you're going to do everything right. You're going to study all the successful campaigns and take what works and what appeals to you from them, and like treat it like homework, man. And then do your project, do your version of a campaign, and make sure it is reflective of this comic book or whatever you're making, that is just the highest quality. You've done it and redone it and refined it and polished it to death till your
Mhm.
hands bleed. And then you can have something that you're not just proud of, but you're super confident in, and that will really help with your. I think that translates into good positive energy for your campaign that people respond well to.
Well said. Well said. All right. Von Klaus, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. I learned a lot myself, man. I mean, you said a lot, you've done a lot. You're literally a pinnacle of everything that is to do about running a good campaign. You're not well known. You said it dozens of times in this interview. Yet you've really crushed you really broke the mold and you really crushed your campaign. So I hope a lot of viewers can take away from what you shared with me on this I want to say podcast or show, whichever, I don't know. So but thank you so much for coming on the show. If you ever do a sequel to Monster M.D, we would like to know where Wyatt is after this sequel. Yeah. Let me know. We'd love to have you back on the show at any time. And of course, with that panel that's coming up, I will keep you all posted.
Please. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. You're total natural at this, and you're great to talk to, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. Well, I'll see you on Twitter, dude. If you see me going off on a rant on some SJW liberal, just kind of wave from afar and say, hey, man.
Yeah, I'll wink. I'll give you a wink.
All right, Von Klaus. Thanks a lot for coming on, man, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time, bud.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And that's it for this episode of Indie Choice Picks, you guys. I hope you liked this video. I'm doing my best to get as many indie creators on this show and exposed as possible. So far, you guys seem to have loved it. My following has grown, so I'm going to keep on doing this just for you guys, all right? If you like Von Klaus's idea of a surgeon working on monsters, then please go ahead below, check out his campaign, and the link will be in the description. Back it for a couple of bucks, get the full book. I did, I love it, and I can't wait for it to come my way. If you're an indie creator and you are looking to get a little bit more of exposure, just shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'm mostly active on there. I'm also on Instagram. If you find me on Twitter, it's at heroic_studios, and on Instagram, Will at heroic studios. So please, guys, if you're looking to get a little bit more exposure, give me a shout. At the same time, if you're new to the channel, I invite you to like and subscribe to the video and subscribe to my channel. I do videos every week, mostly 2 a week with new and emerging artists. All right, so guys, this is it for this episode. I will see you next week with 2 more interviews. So enjoy yourself, and I hope I see you next time.